Welcome to the Land House channel. I'm Seth. Today I have the Orient Power set up, a 6,500 watt inverter coupled with a lithium iron phosphate 5,120 watt hour battery. The purpose of this video is to unbox both of these, take a look at all the features, do a charge and discharge test on the battery, and see how well the inverter performs. Now later on, I'm going to be installing this into an off-grid system with 2,000 watts of solar into an off-grid shop. So we will be able to actually mount these on the wall and do some real testing. But for this video, I'm just going to show you what these are all about. So if you're interested in this, then continue watching. All right, let's start off by doing an unboxing of the battery. When you pick this up to put it on your table, be careful because it weighs over 100 pounds. All right, so first thing, I have got an Ethernet cable. This could be used to either connect different batteries together or to communicate between a battery and an inverter. And it also has a really nice user manual. I've read through this a time or two and it is well written. Here on the top we have got the bracket. Because this weighs so much, it's important to have a bracket to mount this onto the wall. As you can see, the foam packaging is nice and thick, up to 2.5 inches in some spots, to help protect this battery in the shipping. There's also a little paper that says that this passed an inspection. Alright, down here we've got some hardware to mount this to a concrete wall. It also has a little bag with some terminals and terminal covers. Alright, let's pull this battery out of here. I might end up just breaking the box down in order to get this out of here. Alright, there we go. Got the battery out of the box. Let's go ahead and pull the rest of this foam off of here so we can take a look at all the features of this battery. I'm looking forward to getting this installed in my future shop and so we can run things off-grid. Let's take a look at the outside of this battery before we do any testing. Starting off with the bottom down here. So first thing, on the sides there are handles where you can pick this up, but these also act as shipping guards and just guards in general to prevent anything else from getting damaged. You've got your two positive terminals over here, the two negative terminals here. This is your power button. It doesn't have a light on it, but it will show on or off down here whenever that is turned on. You have a 120 amp breaker over here with a clear off and on. You've got your reset button. This right here is a set of dip switches that will allow you to add more batteries to the system. You've got this right here is your dry connect. You've also got your RS485 and CAN ports, and these will allow your unit to talk to the inverter. You don't have to have that installed if you have your inverter set to lead acid, but it is nice to be able to use lithium iron phosphate battery settings with your inverters. The RS232 allows you to connect to a computer for changing settings and monitoring the battery. And your RS485 over here is for joining multiple batteries together for communication. Up here on the top, you've got some buttons. So menu, enter, down, and escape. There's a capacity setting over here. It just shows you LEDs for either empty or full. You've got an alarm button and a run button. And then the nice screen up here to see what all is going on. It does have the Orient Power logo up here. Move over to this side. There's the Orient Power. Got a model number 48100 PW. Rated voltage is 51.2 volts. Capacity 100 amp hours. Energy 5,120 watt hours. Discharge current max is 100 amps. Now this does have handles up towards the top, and they are metal and seem to be well built, and they are spring loaded. You can hear the snap. Definitely nice to have that out of the way. Nothing up here on the top. Got a handle again on this side, and that is it. If I were to flip this battery up here, yeah, you can see how the bracket will mount onto this system. So So you will have this right here on the wall like this, and the whole battery will slip into this right here. So that'll make it pretty easy to get the battery on the bracket without having to struggle too much. I'm going to press the power button real quick so we can see what happens here on the display. So it says, welcome to Use Smart BMS. Press the menu key. Alright, and you can see some various information in here. Let's go ahead and press the down button. And you can see the arrow over here will select the option. Let's go into System Settings. 9600 for the baud rate. .62 volts. You can see the cell voltage on each of those. 10 screws hold the cover onto this battery. Let's take those apart real quick and see what's inside. Well, I apologize. I can't open this case to show you the inside. 2 of the 4 screws I just tried to take off of the case stripped out. I got one of them stripped with the drill, and I moved over to a screwdriver and stripped out another one. But I did watch a video on YouTube, and the cables on the positive and negative terminals are doubled up, which is nice. It was 7-gauge wire. And then I also got to see the case over the cells removed, and everything looked neat and tidy. So anyway, I apologize. Alright, that's the overview of the battery. Now let's open up the Orient Power inverter, and we will check that out, and that will allow us to both charge and discharge this battery and do a test for off-grid system. I set the battery off to the side so we can look at the Orient Power inverter. This thing is going to allow us to both discharge and charge the battery because it will be able to accept solar power. Alright, we've got a communication cable to go from the inverter to the battery. There is an MC4 connector right here, and also a disc to have some information on there. We've got a data cable to be able to connect to a computer. So for instance, here is the other portion of that cable. I'll have to see if we can do that through the laptop. Got a little cover here to go over the battery terminals. Here's a bag of glands to go around the cables up under the inverter. Alright, got the box out of the way. Let's go ahead and pull this packing foam out. Packing foam is nice and thick, just like the battery was. That's good to know. Inverter also comes with a nice user manual, but I took it out of the box a couple weeks ago. I need to find it. For now though, it's available online. So let's do a tour around this inverter. Starting from the top here, you've got the Orient Power logo with this pin stripe as found on the battery as well. If you move down here, this is the cover that will be removed to access all of the cables and wires inside. The display here is removable. There is a screw that you can take apart right here, and you can just mount this up on the wall for easy access to view and change settings. You got various buttons here that we will go over in a minute. So moving down here, you have got a communications port over here. You've got your PV 1 and 2 down here, and we're going to be removing this little sticker. Down here, you've got your AC input, AC output. We'll be installing those glands on there. Over here, there's another sticker that needs to be removed. You've got your battery positive, battery negative down there. There is a filtered vent up here to allow airflow. The top has these 2 mounting holes to mount this inverter. Over here has another vented space, and that is all of that here for the exterior of this unit. I just removed the 5 screws that hold this front cover on, and that's going to allow me to access the back side here. So we can take a look inside where the batteries are going to connect, and also where the PV is connected. And up here you've got your outputs and inputs. There are 2 large cooling fans on this side and 1 over here, which will allow this inverter to cool off by airflow. Alright, so over here you have the battery positive, it says it right here, also has red. You've Come over here, the battery negative, and also has a black cable right there. Now I'll be using these gland connectors here to go down on this lower side, and that will allow the battery cables to go up in here and attach to that. Now we won't really be using this down here, but this inverter allows you to have a current sharing and connect different inverters together. So we won't have to use that for this install. The PV1 and PV2 is connected down here and then goes into the inverter, as you can see right there. Over here you've got your input breaker, 250 volts AC. On this side is the AC input, load, neutral, and ground. Over here is AC output, load, neutral, and ground. So right here is where you're going to be attaching all of those. All right, let's go ahead and begin working with this inverter and battery combo. In order to do that, I'm going to get some battery cables attached to here. Now, it recommends 2/0, so I'm going to get those built up real quick. I'm going to make them long enough that I could put my battery on either side of the inverter. So going from here up and over to a battery if it were mounted right next to it. And after that, we will be connecting some solar so that we can charge this battery up before doing a discharge test. Just to see this inverter and battery combo working, I have got a 6-gauge cable. Now this needs to be a 2/0, so keep in mind this is just simply to get a charge on this inverter, and we will do a full install later to actually have this running as it's supposed to. So, alright, just keep that in mind for now. This cable is not the right size. Because both the inverter and the battery are turned off, I don't anticipate any current, but I'm still going to connect a resistor and potentially slow charge this, even if for some reason there was some current present there. Just give that a moment, and that shouldn't have any pop if there was going to be any. I'm going to press the power button down here to turn on the battery. Seems to be working well, and now I'm going to turn on the breaker down here. Battery state seems to be full down here. The AC inverter is currently blinking, and it's just got one little line for the load right in there. Output 120 volts, and there is a fun LED strip that is turned on right here as well. Alright, so we have some power. Let's go ahead and add some solar to this unit to go ahead and get things charged up. Now before I connect the solar to this inverter, I want to attach the communication cable. So over here, the communication cable has inverter written on it, and over here has BMS, which means the battery maintenance over here. So right here on the top it says lithium ion battery. Let's plug that up right here. And then go over here to the RS485 port. I now have 750 watts of solar at 96 volts. Let's go ahead and plug this up and see what we get here. See if I can scroll through here and see where it has the input. Alright, 90 volts there is what it's showing. 2.4 amps, 3.1 amps. 281 watts at the moment. Alright, well it is charging. Let's see if the MPPT charge controller will bring this number up closer to the 700 mark. But at least we know for now that that is working properly. I just checked the status of the battery, and it also says charging right here. The MPPT charge controller is doing its thing. I'm seeing the watts jump up to 350 right now, so things seem to be settling in. We'll see how high it goes up to here in a few minutes. In order to do a very simple output test, I have an outlet right here that will be able to take power to this little heater just to see if the output is going to occur here. So before I turn anything on, I'm going to plug this up so we can do a test. So let's go ahead and put this cover back on. I'm going to plug this heater up real quick. Alright, let's go ahead and do the power button here. One thing I just discovered is that the power button on the inverter is sticking up. So if you flip this panel over and set it on the top of the case, it turns the unit on. So keep that in mind whenever you are using this. Let's try out the fan setting here. There we go, the fan is now on. We'll turn on this to heat setting number 1. Alright, it's beginning to heat up. Let's see if we can see a load here. Still indicates the first load setting there. Here we go, 576 watts output. Let's step this up one. 800 watts output. So yes, the inverter is working properly, which is a good thing. Alright, let's go ahead and turn this back off. In order to charge the unit, I have the battery turned on. If I go to the menu, the analog information, I can see the pack voltage here is 52.87 volts. Now I have the inverter turned off, but the unit has been activated by the solar. So let me show you this display here. If I go into, alright, we have 111 volts on the PV, 0.7 amps because it's a very overcast day, 90 watts. But you can see the battery right here is charging on this lower portion, and the light over here is blinking that it's charging. So it's got 52.88 now. So I'm basically going to let this sit all day and charge up before we do our discharge test on the battery. The sun is now peeking out. I've got 790 watts there, 900. So it is definitely seeing some input. If I go over here now and go to pack voltage, it is 54.17. So it is charging right there. And we should see that increase over the next hour or two. So I did have to go into the inverter and change the settings based on the battery's input there. It does have the communication cable, but I don't have that set up right yet. And so for now it is just charging as if it were a custom unit. So anyhow, it's charging, doing well. One nice thing about this inverter is that you can have the inverter power button turned off, and if solar power comes into the unit, it will turn it on just to charge the battery, but the actual output is not on. So it actually will charge the battery faster and not consume the battery overnight whenever the inverter is turned off. So very cool. I also found that there is a film that can be removed here, but on the display inside here, there's another film that was never removed during the production. So one of the corners is just slightly flapped up. So I feel like if you were to open this package, if I hadn't stripped the screws, you could have peeled that off. So consider that whenever you get one of these. Also, I found a 2-gauge wire, which should allow us to do a good discharge on this battery. So let me change that out real quick, and then we will begin a test to discharge the battery. I've got a meter I can connect that will show the 100 amp hours, and we will see whenever this thing is depleted and how well it has performed as far as the percentage used. So, alright, let me go ahead and swap these cables out real quick. The battery is now fully charged. I have the larger battery cables installed. I've also put a meter up here so we can keep track of the settings. And also I've got the outlet over here kind of out of the frame, and that's going to be used to test the output with this heater. So now keep in mind, in a few months I'm going to have a studio space where I'll be able to test this out off-grid in my shop. So this is just going to be a general test, and we will do a better full review later on. Okay, so first off I'm going to turn on the battery here. Very good. It's showing full. I'm also going to flip on the breaker. Now my meter here is saying 53.6. It's got 100 amp hours on there. And I'm going to go ahead and reset everything. Alright, very good. So let me go ahead and turn on the inverter. I'm going to use a stopwatch to time the discharge. And we will wait for the battery meter to drop down from 100 amp hour to 0. Now I don't like to do that on my batteries, but for the purpose of this test, that's what we're going to be doing. Got that connected. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the heater to setting number 2. press the start on my stopwatch here. Output currently is 859 watts. Move over here to this. It's showing 19 amps, and we've got about 995 to 1,000 watts going out. So very close. We've currently used 20 watt hours. Alright, I'm going to give this some time and we will see how well this battery performs with a load of approximately 1,000 watts. At approximately 1 hour, we have 81.2 amp hours left, still running around 19 amps. We're 983 watt hours used so far, and the watts still hovering around the 990 here on the display. It has now been 2 hours. We can look over here, 61.8 amp hours left to go. The battery is still at 52 volts, and we've used 1.9 kilowatt hours, running at approximately almost 1,000 watts. So I think things are right on track with this battery. Seems to be doing quite well. Inverter seems to have no struggles whatsoever. You move this over here. That also matches 52 volts, 60 hertz, 13% output. We've got 854. There we go, 855 watts. Battery's still at 15 amp. It has now been 3 hours. We have used 3 kilowatt hours, which is fantastic to see. Just means that the about 1,000 watts going out is accurate. We've got 42.1 amp hours left, still running consistent at 19 on the amps. 51.8 volts on the battery, which means this test is still doing fantastic. Very happy with this so far. Just crossed over into hour 4. We've got 4 kilowatt hours and 21.4 amp hours left. It has now been 5 hours and 11 minutes, and we have 0.7 amp hours left, and this display says 5.1 kilowatt hours. So the battery is 5,120 watt hours, so I can't get any closer to that. But from what I'm seeing, this battery is spot on to spec, so that is fantastic. Let's go ahead and turn off the load here, and we'll see. Yeah, I think we're good. The discharge test on the Orient Power battery went perfectly. So with my meter, I was able to see 5,100 watt hours. So I'm not sure about the 20 watt hours or not, because my meter won't read that low. But this thing was right at spec. So very happy with the performance of the battery here. Now I've connected 1,000 watts of solar, and it's currently charging at about 580 right now. So it'll increase as the day goes on. So this was just a basic overview and introduction to the Orient Power system. In the future, I'm going to have a 20 by 30 shop that I'm currently building, and I'm going to install this for my off-grid portion of that shop. So you will see a full install of this coming up here in the future. If you want to check out the Orient Power battery or inverter, then I'll have links in the description down below. Now this company has multiple different inverters that you can purchase. This is the 120 watt. You can double these up and have 240, or you can check out their other inverters if you have different needs. Alright, that's all I got for you today. I'm Seth with the Land House channel, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.